Tell me before you click it.
All right. We are live.
Let's go.
Here at Losing Sucks, episode 51. Man, it feels good to be back on the interwebs, Travis. We've
Big
got
show.
Man, first of all, can I just say I love what you're doing in the background. I just noticed you might have had this up for a little bit. But you got the Lamb jersey, you got the DK Metcalf jersey. I'm all for it.
Okay, yeah, as somebody who loves running backs more than wide receivers by a landslide, I'm going to have to purchase some running back jerseys this year for sure. I don't know how I feel about this wide receiver university behind me.
You know what? Wide receivers give you the boom games. That's what we're here for. You know, or you just go full stud running back. You trade away a whole bunch of picks, and you just focus on that one round.
You name yourself Travis. That's what you're doing.
Right. Right. Yeah, who cares?
For some context, I gave up a 2024 first and
to move up like how many spots?
10 spots,
like
10 or 11 spots to take Saquon Barkley because I believe in the talent.
Oh, a whole round. You moved up a round, and now you've got Saquon Barkley, who you believe could be the the running back one on the year.
Yes.
And if all goes well and he's healthy and doesn't have paper mache knees, then absolutely.
I don't know that he'll be overall RB1 potential, but I think he's a top 10 running back, and I think he's arguably the best running back, just all-around player in the NFL. Why not?
I mean,
what are we getting into tonight, man?
As far as prospects go, yeah, Saquon's right there.
Yeah.
As good as anyone else. We've got some stuff on tap tonight. We're going to be talking some wide receivers who have new teammates. We're going to be talking about where they fall. We're talking some A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Hunter Renfrow, Devonta Adams, maybe some others. We're going to be talking some ancient running backs, guys who are
ridiculous.
Just dust. Like you read about them in history books, you know, and we're going to be talking about what the hell they're doing on your roster still. And then we've also
your perspective on these old guys is going to change. I am going to change it.
I'm looking forward to you trying. And
I
then
will.
We've got some quarterback values. You know, some guys we want to touch on. Maybe there's some value there. Maybe it's just some fool's gold. And then of course, you know, Phil and some other stuff. We'll take some questions from people as they ask them. But yeah, we'll there was a big event that happened, Travis.
It's over. Are you okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah, are you okay now that it's over?
I gotta tell you, it's like coming off of what I can only imagine coming off of a high feels like. It's like, you know, it's like the days after Christmas where it's like, what do I do now? Like
play with all these toys.
Figure out all the toys.
Which ones you liked better?
I honestly just open up my rosters on Sleeper and just kind of like scroll through my team. Just like, this is beautiful. This is exactly
which
what I want.
old toys are you having to throw out? We've seen a lot of people getting cut. Yeah. I said today in our Dynasty League that you started a couple years ago, people are just getting cut left and right now that the rookie drafts are finishing.
Yeah.
And I said something like, are you guys even calling them to the coach's office? Are you telling them you appreciate their effort in training camp? And do they get to keep their cleats?
Right.
Are they welcome on the practice squad? Anything like that? Or are you guys just cutting these old guys? Damian Williams.
Once you're a member of our team once, you're always family. But unfortunately, you got to get off the roster.
Yeah.
You can't stay here. It's just we've got these beautiful young rookies coming in here and just taking up all the work. But it's finally time to talk about them. It's finally time to talk about the new players who have found their way into the NFL. We know their landing spot. All of the questions that we can have answered right now have been answered. And my question to you, Travis, is now that we've got some information, we know where these guys are playing. These quarterbacks. I want to start with the quarterbacks that came into the league, okay? Because it was not at all
underwhelming.
So yeah, underwhelming in a word. It's gross. And they came in, one quarterback. I brought it up during our live stream during the draft. One quarterback goes in the first 70 picks, the first time since 1996 that this happened. And the whole talk around Dynasty, fantasy Twitter, the entire internet has been, oh, well, now you can get these guys at the back of the first of your rookie drafts, or now their values, or, things like that. And Travis, I got to tell you, your perspective right now, do you see any value with these guys falling, most of the relevant ones pre-draft falling third round and beyond?
No, I'm not touching any of these quarterbacks. What this draft did for me, it's not like a toot your own horn thing, but my stance on rookies in general and rookie picks has been I will always move them for proven talent, established, even veteran guys that I know can help me win right now. I can always move those guys for picks later. But this was an abysmal rookie draft for guys that are coveting first-round picks and trading stars in season for these first-round picks. It did not work out. Willis, Corral, Ritter, maybe Pickett. I don't. None of them do anything for me. You're not going to start any of them probably at any point, at least in the first half of this season.
I think Pickett. He makes.
You think he beats out Mitch in camp?
I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's far from a guarantee, but I think given the weapons that he's surrounded with, I think it's possible, especially with the draft capital, that eventually this year he takes over.
Yeah.
Everyone else, though, kind of to jump on, I'm completely out. Willis, because the thought before this was, okay, we know that this class isn't 2021. We know this class isn't 2023, but maybe we can find some value. Malik Willis, he's going to be probably 102, but then he falls in the third round. And even with the rushing upside, even with the perceived, this thought process that they're just going to move on from Ryan Tannehill, while, he's also had contract extension talks, is just nonsense. Even if we'll be kind and call Malik Willis a project quarterback, even if he's a project quarterback, if the Titans find themselves in a position where they can draft a top tier, quarterback in the first round, if they have a guy that's graded higher than Malik Willis, which at this point, the chances and likelihood that they find someone who's graded higher than Willis are very high.
Yeah.
Malik Willis is not going to have a chance to have any sort of safety, insulation, cushion, whatever you want to call it. He's going to be on a very short leash, which means he's going to find it difficult to develop into a starting quarterback. I think he's going to bounce around, and personally, I'm just not taking the chance. Same thing with Corral. People saying
they're not getting in the game.
Sure,
barring injury, these guys are not touching the field this year.
To continue on though, especially to your point that you just said, Sam Darnold is, obviously not a successful starting quarterback in the NFL. He will still play circles around Matt Corral in training camp in the preseason because he's been in the league for 4 years. Matt Corral played in a largely RPO based offense, where 60% of his reads were just RPO, single side of the field reads. And that you're not going to see that in the NFL. That's going to take time. If you're in redraft, if Matt Corral enters the game or is starting a week, start the defense that's playing against Carolina, because that's going to be,
it's not exciting at all.
Beautiful. Yeah. But as far as the I just wanted to put some of those rumors, or not rumors, but just the conjecture to bed. Because Ritter in Atlanta, I still don't want him, because Marcus Mariota is not, a starter, a recent starter. The last time you played, he was marginal at best. And now you're on a depleted Atlanta roster. Ritter's not exciting. Again, he falls in the same category as a Malik Willis, where he's mobile and he's athletic, but short leash, third round pick. This team is going to be bad, and they're going to have to throw the ball. They didn't do much to support the offense other than drafting Drake London. And look, they're going to be in a position to draft a better quarterback next year. That gives no confidence to Desmond Ridder. I think he's a career backup.
No doubt.
But with that being said, Travis, enough bashing on the quarterbacks, because that's not the only.
It's not their fault. It was not a great year to come out, because a lot of teams, they knew this ahead of time, and a lot of teams went and got quarterbacks before the draft. So we should have known right then this is going to get ugly for these quarterbacks. Otherwise, they would have drafted and then made moves later.
Right. And now, like I said, now they've kind of all moved on. We'll see how it plays out this year. But there were other positions drafted. Primarily, one of focus that we're talking about, the wide receivers. It was a deep group, Travis. And one team that needed a wide receiver pretty bad, the Green Bay Packers. I know you're a fan, and I wanted to pose this question to you because this is pretty interesting to me. There's going to be this, heck, there already is this talk that whoever the Packers drafted is going to be this super productive rookie, and he's just going to be this target hog, much like you see in, these top drafted wide receivers and like a Drake London, Treylon Burks, even Garrett Wilson to some degree.
Yeah.
I don't think that they drafted a single guy, Travis. I'm curious to see how you feel or how you think this environment is going to play out in the future, because there are still savvy veterans that I think Aaron Rodgers would be more prone to rely on if they were to sign with the Green Bay Packers. So what are your thoughts on the current state and possible future of the Green Bay Packers wide receiver room?
They grabbed Sammy Watkins. I think he's not somebody you want to spend a high pick on, but definitely don't leave him on the waivers right now.
Right.
If he's there, get him. I think Jarvis Landry and or Julio Jones take a serious look at Green Bay because of how much of a hole there is there. They're not going to come in and compete largely for targets and a chance to produce. Jarvis Landry, I've been saying all offseason, before he signs somewhere like Green Bay, go get him. Go get him. Go get him. He's 29. Yeah. He has juice left in the tank. I would say 2 or 3 Adam Thielen-esque type years in Green Bay is very realistic. Julio Jones, maybe not so much, but I don't see Green Bay saying, "Oh, Julio, you want to play for a league minimum to play with Aaron Rodgers?" No, thanks. Of course they're going to. They would sign somebody like that, and that's not just a fantasy fan in me saying, "Let's just stockpile all these superstar vets." They have a need for that. It's different than saying Kansas City needs Julio Jones, or they would sign Jarvis Landry. They fix all that. They're not signing with Kansas City.
No,
Green Bay needs them.
Yeah. I think Jarvis Landry makes some sense. Will Fuller could help take the top off other than the guys that just drafted. They don't really have a true field stretcher. Looking at the question that Adai Ben went and asked in the chat here, he asked, "What situation do we think Baker Mayfield becomes a starter again?" Ben, I'm going to be honest, man. I think it's more likely at this point that he's cut. I still think it's going to be difficult for him to find a home. I think either you're waiting until training camp when someone gets injured or needs a quarterback. At this point, I think Seattle has talked themselves into being comfortable with Drew Lock and or Geno Smith. I think that Carolina is ultimately desperate. If they do bring in a Baker Mayfield, I think that would have to be the place where he is most likely to start, barring any other injury in the NFL. I think that would have to be it, because what are the other options?
Could he get Marcus Mariota a run for his money?
I don't think it wouldn't make sense if they already drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round. If Marcus Mariota goes down, I think they're just going to roll with their guy, because they're not trying to win this year. They're not like, "Oh, wow,
that's true.
We got to win 4 games instead of 2 this year." That won't be a thought process. Whereas Carolina, Matt Rule's on the hot seat. They just had, very little draft capital in which they took a quarterback in the 3rd round, traded up for him even. I think it's more likely there, and I think were they to sign him, and
he probably won't start.
I
can't see it.
I think
it dies right. Barring injury, it's gonna be tough.
Here's my thought process, and here's kind of what I've seen, heard. it is hard to go to your locker room after watching last year to tell those guys we plan to compete and we're competing with the guy that was in the locker room. You all saw him play last year, and it's Sam Darnold. And these guys aren't stupid in the locker room. They're not going to see the team invest only a 3rd round pick and a quarterback, and then all of a sudden they're convinced that that's the guy.
Yeah.
You would have to bring in a Baker Mayfield, which again, this is just an ugly scenario because that is going to be an ugly situation because he is not liked around the league. He's not respected. So it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell either way. I think if Baker were to sign there, obviously I think he would be the starter. But man, what a tough situation. Going back to Green Bay though, I think that Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, I think those are going to be some guys maybe down the road, maybe next year they could see some relevant usage, but I don't think this year is going to be anything consistent, anything startable, anything usable from those guys. You might see like a low end MVS out of Christian Watson, and even then, is that someone you're really looking to start in your lineup outside of best ball?
What are you doing with Alan Lazard?
Alan Lazard is an interesting piece because
they could bring in a Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones, or somebody like that.
Well, sure. I mean,
do you think Lazard's value right now is higher than it will be?
Well, I mean, there's 2 schools of thought. Right now, he hasn't changed tiers. He hasn't automatically changed tiers because to me, nothing has changed. He has competition added. We knew he was going to. I think he's still favored because he's probably the most trusted outside of Randall Cobb. His role in that offense hasn't been challenged. There's no one else that's an outside possession receiver that they brought in that I think Aaron Rodgers would run on the field. So I think he's going to play.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I don't think it doesn't matter who they bring in. Alan Lazard is on the field.
Right.
All the time.
Unless they bring in like a Jarvis Landry and a Will Fuller. I'll even leave it at just like a Jarvis Landry. Because
he's still going to be out there.
They did bring in Sammy Watkins, but from what I've read, he's not even a lock to make that roster. And it's been years now where we can comfortably challenge whether he does love football. That has always been the assertion from the media and from his coaches as well. But Alan Lazard is very interesting to me. I think he's a buy. I wouldn't even say a buy low because I don't see his value, rising until the season starts. So he's just a buy for me right now because at worst, you're paying for what he is. He is a wide receiver 2 on his team. He's, and that's really just saying him and Randall Cobb are going to be competing for targets. He's probably going to have more valuable targets. He's most likely the most trusted wide receiver 1 on that team. So I would say, yes, buying him right now, you're not going to have to pay super high.
I think you're almost getting a little bit of a discount because
you are. And let's say even
it's so fresh, it won't be as fresh in a month.
You could even sell someone on the fact that they are going to be looking to bring in Jarvis Landry. And let's say they do. You're already paying a low price for him. Okay. Yeah. So again, with everything being subjective around trade value, don't overpay, but definitely there's no chance that you're way overpaying and then you're just losing a ton of value once Jarvis Landry or someone else signs because you're already paying a low end price.
Yeah.
With that being said though, what do you think is more important coming into a situation like this? It doesn't even have to be wide receivers because we're talking about the age-old question of talent versus opportunity. And it always comes down, and me personally, Travis, I think it comes down to personal preference. It's more of I always really trust the talent of a wide receiver. I also believe that a running back like Leonard Fournette, or even a guy that's not super talented, like last year, a playoff darling in Rex Burkhead can fall into some opportunity. Craig Reynolds, where they're called upon and they're needed. They can I think any running back can be pushed into a valuable role, at the drop of a dime. So my question to you though, we've got some new landing spots with these running backs. We've already talked about a wide receiver. These running backs that came in, let's taking Breece Hall off the table. We know that due to the investment in the current roster construction, we've already debated where his role is going to be, but we haven't talked about Kenneth Walker. We haven't talked about two other guys that came into open running back rooms that are kind of ripe for the taking in Houston and Atlanta. Talk about Damian Pierce, and we're talking about Tyler Algier.
Okay.
Now, Damian Pierce and Tyler Algier are not top-end prospects, but they were given Damian Pierce was in the 4th round, Tyler Algier in the 5th round. Not exactly high-end. It's day 3 backs. Talent versus opportunity. Are you more willing to take a chance, whereas you're going to have to pay up for a guy like Kenneth Walker? Right now we're in some drafts where I'm seeing him go in like the 6th and 7th round of startup rookie drafts or startup drafts. Or do you maybe say, okay, get some more value? You talking trade? Do you look to trade, let's call it a buy low on these guys, if that's even what you want to call it? Because it's not a guarantee even that Tyler Algier or Damian Pierce takes over the backfield there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like I am one of the worst possible people to ask this question, because
it's honesty. I like it.
If I'm not in love with Breece Hall,
right,
then I'm definitely not going to want to take a chance on somebody like Kenneth Walker or Pierce or Algier.
Let's bring it to redraft.
I think Walker for sure of the 3 of those.
Sure.
Seattle has been a rotating RB room, but that's mainly been due to injury. When
right.
the lead back is healthy, they're a top 15, top 12 back. Chris Carson has shown us that. Rashad Penny just showed us that.
Right.
So, yeah, even in redraft, I mean, this rookie class in general, especially in redraft, I don't want any part of, because what you're paying for these guys is incredibly high. And we'll get there a little bit later in the show with, at least from the dynasty perspective, where guys like Walker are going. And I think it's ill-advised, and it's going to cost a lot of people to regret passing on some actual literal top 12 running backs for a rookie who's in a split backfield in Seattle. It just, I can't believe it. But if I'm in that draft, I will watch people do that all day. I just can't advise that anybody does that.
Kenneth Walker going over like a Alvin Kamara, going and a lot of times going over a Derrick Henry. Yeah. That's the kind of, youth plays a factor, draft capital, new shiny toy plays a factor.
Like on Sleeper in this draft that we're in right now.
Right.
Of the people that are still there, Kenneth Walker is directly above Cam Akers, Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, TJ Hawkinson.
Right. Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
In what world are you taking Kenneth Walker over Nick Chubb in any format?
It's new.
Recency bias is not enough.
Recency, potential, hell of a drug.
You have to be a family friend. You have to be.
Yeah.
You have to have grown up with Kenneth Walker to take him over Nick Chubb. I don't understand it at all.
It's a funny thing on Sleeper, though, with Kenneth Walker. I guess there was like a wide receiver named Kenneth Walker years ago.
Yeah.
And he was training. A bunch of people probably saw him on the waiver. Like, no one picked this guy up.
Yeah, I know. He's alive.
Cracks me up, though. But flipping on.
Ben makes a good point here before we move on from the rookies.
Sure.
And we said this right before we went live. Alec Pierce, we did not see this coming as far as how high he was drafted in real life. And I think that does tell us that he will be on the field quite a bit. I think he was
talking about Damian Pierce, but yeah.
Oh, Damian Pierce.
Right.
Okay, well, forget Damian Pierce. Don't pay that price.
We can talk about Alec Pierce. That's fine.
But I think Alec Pierce, Dustin pointed out to me probably 3 or 4 weeks before the draft. If you are in a league where the rookies are already drafted, make a trade and get a throw-in of Alec Pierce. And I did so.
Yeah.
before even knowing who that was or watching a single play, after the trade happened, I went and looked him up, and this guy's amazing. And the Colts said, yes, he is. We will spend the capital on him. He will be on the field quite a bit. I'm excited about that. I think Matt Ryan has to be excited about that.
He's very good. He's very good.
Pittman's going to take a lot of attention. So,
to kind of piggyback on that real quick before we move on, to those worried that he's going to take away Michael Pittman's targets, it's completely different because one, he's a rookie. Two, he's nowhere near as dominant as Michael Pittman is. And Michael Pittman, the only thing missing from him last year was competent quarterback play. And now he has it. It's like saying I can't be in love with Julio Jones because they just brought in Calvin Ridley. Like, they both help.
But I don't think he kills Alec Pierce. I think the attention that he draws allows Alec Pierce to try to beat his guy one-on-one.
Right. Like, it's not like,
which he needs.
Exactly. He had Zach Pascal and an aging T.Y. Hilton to compete with last year. He was going to get more target competition, but it's not like he can't have more volume. It's not something I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, that pick by the Colts is good for both of those receivers, I think.
Right. But the main point of what we wanted to talk about, Travis, is that we've been having some conversations lately about some guys. Maybe you guys have heard that a trade went down in the NFL draft, the Eagles making moves, the savant, the April NFL, trading wizard of Howie Roseman pulled off one heck of a deal, trading the 18th, not even their best first round pick. They still drafted Jordan Davis with the 15th overall pick, which absolutely blows my mind. They gave up their second first round pick and a third round pick in a terrible draft, so to say, for AJ freaking Brown. Travis,
Tennessee knew, and they said that we were getting to a point where AJ was going to walk. Yeah, we're not going to be able to pay AJ Brown. So to get anything for him, at some point your hands are tied. But it's not ideal for anybody. We'll get into that here.
Yeah,
and it was a landscape shifter. Yeah, I don't know what shifted the landscape more: Christian Kirk's contract or AJ Brown to Philly.
Well, what did you just see? What did you just see, and what did we talk about on the stream and on our last episode? You're going to see more of these wide receivers get traded to teams with quarterbacks on rookie contracts because they can afford it. They can afford to pay wide receivers 4 years, $100 million with 60 guaranteed, and have them for a few years. And what's even better for the Eagles is that if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out, and we'll get into this, they can just move on to another cheaper, longer-term rookie quarterback or younger-term quarterback if they so choose, and they're just golden. So I love it. Way to go, Howie Roseman. But let's talk about this dynamic because it's all over the internet, all over a whole bunch of people are talking about. We're in drafts. When do I take these guys? And my question to you, Travis, is Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. Is this going to happen? Do you see AJ Brown staying the same, increasing in value? Where do you see Devonta Smith here? What are your thoughts on how this is unfolded and how it impacts these guys moving into this season and beyond?
I hate it for them both. And I hate to say that because I went and got Devontae Smith in 4 or 5 leagues on the same day and was celebrating the success of those deals, and it just got blown up. And that happens. And then you have to adjust and bite the bullet and just see what happens. But for me, it is as simple as volume. The 2021 Eagles completed 18 passes per game. And I know that has to go up. They got obsessed with running the ball. But when you look at it, that 17-game season, Devontae Smith had less than 4 catches per game. Dallas Goedert had less than 4 catches per game. These are guys that everybody was high on coming into this year, thinking the Eagles will increase, volume will go up for these guys, success is on the way.
Right.
There's just not enough there. To add A.J. Brown and to keep Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert remotely where you were hoping they would be is unrealistic. And I don't think A.J. Brown, to me, is not a top 12 receiver. There's no way in my book. It breaks my heart. But
I think it is possible with A.J. Brown. I think to kind of get in, because look, it's not like he was on the Chargers and now he's just falling into a team where it's just, oh my goodness, the difference. Because the difference in the Titans and the Eagles last year was 2.4 passes per game. So it's not like it has to completely alter, because you know what? We have seen teams go from no passing volume to then now they do favor the pass at least a little bit more. We just saw the Ravens throw a lot more. All it takes is, the coaches decide, and you know what? We do have some new weapons. When you only have a rookie and Devonta Smith, and then Dallas Goedert was injured a little bit, and you have the whatever Jalen Reagor is, you can only run the ball essentially, and that makes sense. That's just good coaching. Because you're not just going to keep throwing footballs at guys you don't think can catch it. So now you have a guy that he can tell you, hey, you can throw it a few more times. You can throw it 5-6 more times per game. That you can get up towards the middle of the pack of the NFL. And you know what? You go from throwing it 409 times in a season or 420 something, whatever it was last year, to now you're throwing it 500. Now you're throwing it, 520 times, probably middle of the pack of the league. And now you give each of A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, if you give A.J. Brown a 23% target share, you're still giving him about 120 targets. You give Devonta Smith, 20% target share. He now gets to 100 targets. So it is possible. I agree with you in the sense that, just kind of repeating what we said all of last year, that Jalen Hurts is not the passer that a lot of people want him to be. The Eagles need him to be. And A.J. Brown.
I still believe in him. I think there's a huge jump to be made that will be made by him. But I still think there's too much competition.
The numbers kind of tell us that it's unlikely. Everyone's going to point to Josh Allen. That was a complete outlier. That doesn't happen. Josh Allen, improved year over year over year. Granted, I'm not sitting here burying Jalen Hurts. He's not dead. He can improve and he can be competent and even a valuable starter and lead this team to playoff success and all of the things that Philadelphia fans are looking for. But Jalen Hurts needs to be competent. It's not on Devonta Smith right now. It's not on A.J. Brown right now. It is all on Jalen Hurts this year. And I'm telling you that throwing it 100 more times a game, or 100 more times a season rather, is it is doable. It is doable. It's just 5-6 more passes, just a change in philosophy. But what I'm saying is, I see it. A.J. Brown is a type of talent that I don't think you need, or he doesn't need a quarterback to facilitate his success. He will make his own success.
Talent wise, yes, but
I think
it is going to be so painfully inconsistent on which of these wide receivers has a good week.
I don't think so. I think
they're not having great weeks at the same time very often. I don't see it.
I agree.
A.J. Brown last year had 3 games in the entire season over 15 fantasy points. 3 times.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
in PPR, in half-point PPR.
Well, sure. But in fairness for A.J. Brown, he missed 6 games, was battling injury all year. That's also been a theme for the last few years, so going to need to clean that up.
He played in 13 games.
Look
and
at
he gave you 15 points 3 times. I cannot.
One of the games he played like 11% of the snaps. I don't.
But everybody has games like that. Everybody has stats like that.
Yeah, but
if you just look at what he played in, I mean,
sure.
Are you willing to spend current ADP on A.J. Brown?
Yes, absolutely. I would.
A.J. Brown or Stephon Diggs.
A.J. Well, that's
exactly
A.J. Brown. I would still go A.J. Brown.
No way! Oh my gosh!
I would still go A.J. Brown.
In 2022, A.J. Brown will have more points than Stephon Diggs.
Oh, if you're talking, all right. So are we talking dynasty or redraft? Because
we're talking Eagles being able to do this next year with Jalen Hurts. So 2022,
I still think A.J. Brown's going to be a wide receiver 1. I think that being a top 12 wide receiver is definitely something he's going to do. My main question is Devonta Smith, who does not win in every quadrant of the field, has a lot of questions, and now he has a larger target competition. I view him as more of a low-end wide receiver 2 to my wide receiver 30 on the season. I don't think that Devonta Smith is anything close to a sure thing until they get, or that offense can prove to me that they have a competent quarterback. I think Devonta Smith is absolutely, from what
oh my goodness,
people viewed him as a possible top 18, top 16 wide receiver next year. Now that's just not going to happen. There's no way.
I don't think there's a path for them both to have a good week on the same week more than once or twice in the season.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean,
AJ Brown or Mike Evans?
Oh, AJ Brown
for next year. No way.
Next year. Then give me Mike Evans. Sure.
So the AJ Brown that you're talking about that you want to happen.
Yeah.
With Devonta Smith and the jump from Jalen Hurts into his third season in the NFL is this year. So still this year, you're taking Mike Evans. Tyreek Hill?
For this year, I'll go with Mike Evans. This year, I honestly, between the two, no, I would probably rather go AJ Brown.
Then Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill will touch the ball 130 times.
It's just Tua to me. It's Tua,
yeah, but Tyreek, I saw a crazy stat. He had 3,000 something yards over the last 3.5 seasons.
Absolutely. Who was throwing him the ball?
No, but listen, he had 3,000 something yards on routes that were not go routes. He had 160 yards over the last 3 years on go routes. That's not what he needs from Tua, which I was shocked. I think of Tyreek as chunk it deep. He's taking it from the line of scrimmage or 8 yards and turning it into 25 over and over and over again. So for somebody who's going to touch the ball 130 times,
you know what?
I'm taking Tyreek.
I'll change. I'll take Tyreek over AJ Brown. Yeah.
T. Higgins?
Over AJ Brown
all day long.
Yeah, I'd probably have to take him over AJ Brown.
So he's not in your top 12 because you still have CD, Diggs,
I think
Devontae.
I think he can be.
Well, but DJ Moore can be, DK Metcalf can be, Keenan
I would take
Allen
AJ Brown
Michael
over
Pittman can be.
I take AJ Brown over DK. I take AJ Brown over Pittman. I take AJ Brown over. Well, you know what? Pittman and AJ Brown might be an interesting conversation, but AJ Brown over DJ Moore. I mean,
they're going to be neck and neck. But what DJ Moore will give you is consistency.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think he will. He's going to out-target AJ Brown by a landslide, probably by 50 targets.
What? How many targets do you think he's going to get in that offense? Did
160.
Did Christian McCaffrey die?
How many did DJ Moore just have?
How many games did Christian McCaffrey play?
Let's see. DJ Moore.
Like, it's
100. He just had 163 targets. So add McCaffrey back, take 10, 15, maybe 20 away. I can see AJ Brown having 100 to 110 targets.
He just had 106 targets and he missed like 5 games. Like, there's no way.
It's not what I know. It's not what Tennessee did either.
No way.
But they are going to have to completely change their identity, and Devonta Smith is going to have to take a massive backseat. It would not shock me one bit if Devonta Smith out-targeted AJ Brown.
No, you're talking.
It would not
crazy
shock
right
me
now.
at all.
Yeah,
no, sir.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It would not shock me at all.
I would bet $1,000 that Devonta Smith does not out-target AJ Brown. There's no way.
That's big money.
There's no way. No.
You were just thinking AJ Brown is a lock wide receiver 1. And then I gave you 4 or 5 guys, and all of a sudden he's fringe wide receiver 15.
He's a fringe wide receiver 1. Absolutely. He will be. I think he's a fringe wide receiver 1.
All right.
But Devonta
Smith going
Smith
to have to be unbelievably efficient.
Devonta Smith is not touching the top 20. There's no way. There's no way. I think
you're right because he's not the home run guy, which AJ Brown will give you 3 or 4 weeks of that.
The things that
but AJ Brown is going to give you 5 points at least 5 or 6 times.
Devonta
Smith
going
to piss you off.
Sure, but that's all wide receivers. But Devonta Smith isn't going to put up the 35-point games that AJ Brown will.
Stephon Diggs is not giving you 5 points.
I had I had Stephon Diggs all of last year, and he gave me 5 points plenty of times. Like
0 games in a half-point PPR did Stephon Diggs go below 7 points.
All right. Okay. So we're drawing the line at 5 and 7 points because those 2 points we got in the 7-point games won us the week.
He had single digits 1, 2, 3, 4 times all year. He went over 15 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times.
Yeah, but where did
that
you
is
draft
not
him?
even close.
Where did you draft him?
You're drafting him right now?
No.
You're deciding between Stephon Diggs and AJ Brown.
Stephon Diggs last year. Where did you draft Stephon Diggs last year?
Beginning of the second round.
Exactly. And when you're talking, like,
that's where AJ Brown was.
Okay, but you're talking about
where are they right now?
AJ Brown isn't being drafted where Stephon Diggs is.
In our dynasty that we're in right now, that we're drafting currently.
Oh, that's
I took Stephon Diggs at 3.8.
Sure.
After AJ Brown at 3.6.
Well, sure. So all right, so they're being drafted around the same, whereas AJ Brown is 4 years younger and is still being drafted right around where Stephon Diggs.
So now we're okay, but now you're getting to your philosophy of how far out in dynasty are you looking? If you're trying to compete in the next 2 to 3 years, it's Stephon Diggs. It's not close.
Yeah, no. It's...
And that offense with Josh Allen, 160 plus targets.
Sure.
It's Gabriel Davis and a rookie.
Okay, now you're just being disrespectful to Crowder because Crowder is there.
Stephon Diggs versus AJ Brown on a week-to-week basis.
I might be a little bit jaded because of how Stephon Diggs was not. Granted, we play in the standard league, so I didn't get the benefit of all the half-point PPR stuff.
I gave you AJ Brown's half PPR. 3 games over 15. Stephon Diggs gave you 6.
Yeah. Look, Stephon Diggs, yeah.
So he's got the ceiling and the floor and the better quarterback and the better offense.
I'll have to look into Stephon Diggs. He didn't leave me with a good feeling last year. Okay.
If you put him in an octagon, sure, I'll take AJ Brown. But if we're talking about fantasy production, I will take Stephon Diggs all day long.
Okay. That's fair.
Are you sold on Stephon Diggs over AJ Brown yet?
Yeah, that one's an easier sell. That one's an easier sell. I still look. You ask me right now, I'm not going to be shocked that AJ Brown's a wide receiver 1. Okay, because
I won't either because the talent is there. But if he is that, Devontae Smith is outside the top 30. I just think
Devonta. Look, we'll real quick, and then we'll move on. I just think Devonta Smith profiles as a wide receiver 2. I don't think he was ever going to be this prolific, volume-based wide receiver 1. That was never going to be him. To me, he was like a Marvin Jones to a like that kind of a guy in an offense. It's just
no, sir.
He's not.
He's out targeting AJ Brown.
He's not like he's not like a Stephon Diggs. He's not going to be. He's not AJ Brown. Okay, AJ Brown does everything better than, I should say everything, because there are some things that Devonta Smith does, but the things that Devonta Smith does well, AJ Brown can also do.
Devonta Smith is absolutely silky. His routes are hot butter.
But he's also not a tank, and
he is not the physical power that AJ Brown is, but neither Tyler Lockett doesn't compare to DK Metcalf physically. No.
Tyler Lockett's also
they're right next to each other in fantasy, though. And Devonta Smith is a better route runner.
Yep.
And he's got a year hurts and a year in the offense. I'm just saying, I would take Devonta Smith at his price before I would take AJ Brown at his, because AJ Brown you're having to pass on Stephon Diggs. I'm not doing that. I'll take Stephon Diggs in the second or third, and I would take Devonta Smith in the 6th.
Yeah,
but I'm not taking Smith over Mooney anyway. We'll get there.
I mean, sure. I mean, there's other things I could bring up for AJ.
Bring him up. That's what we're here for.
Okay, fine. You want
defend
the
yourself? Damn it!
Look, it's just AJ Brown. He's good. Okay. We know that. But Devonta Smith, he was 26 in win rate versus man. Okay. And yeah, his separation against man coverage is good for 11th. But AJ Brown is more dominant. Okay.
If they both had to play with like long sleeve hoodies on, would you feel different?
They both had to play with long sleeve hoodies on.
Like if they had to play with jackets on and you couldn't see their arms, would you feel any different?
What does that even? I don't understand where you're going with this.
Because what you're seeing is biceps popping out of the jersey of AJ Brown and saying he's better.
Oh my gosh. That's not even remotely true.
He's bigger and stronger, but that doesn't mean he's a better receiver.
Yeah, okay.
How would Hunter Renfrow feel about a comment like that?
Oh my god. Oh my god. You know what? We're gonna. This debate isn't
done. Speaking of Hunter Renfrow.
Oh gosh. Okay, yeah. Go ahead and crap on Hunter Renfrow now, because apparently good receivers stop being good just because there's another wide receiver in the room.
That wasn't my point. My point was you don't have to be physically overpowering to be an elite fantasy receiver. Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs.
AJ Brown,
these guys are murdering people.
AJ Brown is also a good. He won at a better rate than Devonta Smith last year, and he played less games. So it's just like Devonta Smith has more question marks about his game than AJ Brown does. AJ Brown wins at literally every quadrant of the field, whereas Devonta Smith struggles deeper down the field. And so that's where I'm going to go. That's where I'll leave it.
Who has a body closer to Devontae Adams?
Hunter Renfrow.
Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen. These perennial wide receiver ones look like Devontae Smith. They do not look like DK Metcalf.
Devonta Smith weighs like 150 pounds. What are you talking about?
Let him play with a hoodie on. You feel different.
Oh my gosh. Hunter Renfrow. Is he going to be a wide receiver too?
No, he's not.
Yes, he will.
Oh, our man Jacob's got a comment down here.
The shirtless bias picks. Yeah. Did he bring up Dorial Green Beckham? Oh my goodness.
Maybe what he's saying is AJ Brown is the next Dorial Green Beckham.
I'm going to leave this chat right now.
Do you want to touch, just to wrap up AJ Brown, a trade that you and I made, we talked about last episode, but I believe it's relevant now that we talked about AJ Brown.
I mean, sure.
You took him off my hands.
Yeah, I took AJ Brown.
So I'm happy that you believe in him, because I'd feel terrible right now if you did not.
Yeah, no, I absolutely believe in AJ Brown. I took AJ Brown. You also sent me Elijah Moore, and I sent you Brandon Ayuk and Javonte Williams. So I still feel great about that. That was more of a roster.
I was really wishing Melvin did not come back.
I think a whole bunch of people were. I honestly feel I feel so happy for the people who bought low on J.K. Dobbins when it was like Melvin Gordon is signing with the Ravens.
Yeah, people were like, I'll give you a third.
Yeah. And then everyone's like, oh, here, take Dobbins. Please give me Josh Jacobs.
All right. Let's reel this back in here. Hunter Renfrow, we have a lot of debating to do about this guy, because I gave up a 2023 first-round pick, for one for Hunter Renfrow heading into the playoffs last year. Yeah. I clearly believe in the talent. I pulled up text messages between you and I from last year's playoffs.
Yeah.
And I sent you a screenshot of the 2023 first for Renfrow, and we both agreed, if you are thinking you're making a deep run, which I was already in the Final Four,
right?
It's the right move, because he's starting immediately for me, and I'll end up losing in the Super Bowl, but I think that's the kind of move you just have to do. But now looking back, is Hunter Renfrow worth that?
No, because things changed. Devonta Adams there now, and you're probably looking at what I believe. Travis does not believe, obviously, because he's wrong, that Hunter Renfrow is a wide receiver too. And it blows my mind, because he was literally the wide receiver 10 last year. Okay. And then all of a sudden Devonta Adams is there, and now Hunter Renfrow is just gone. He just disappears.
Devonta Adams and Darren Waller are now there.
Darren Waller's been there. Like,
when Darren Waller was there, it was a little different.
I mean, even
okay, make your case for Renfrow, and then I will give you some names of would you actually take him over these guys?
Absolutely.
Because every time we do that, I think it's really beneficial.
So Darren Waller played 11 games last year. He had 90 targets. Hunter Renfrow, on the other hand, it's not like he saw this massive workload. He saw 130 targets. He caught a bunch of them, and his role in that offense. It always comes back to role in the offense, what was threatened, what is added. Davante Adams can play all over the field, but Hunter Renfrow is their slot guy. He's their third down guy. Granted, that probably changes now that Davante Adams is there. But Hunter Renfrow, and this is me making the case for Hunter Renfrow being good enough on his own merits to warrant, to demand a role in this offense. I think Darren Waller now is more hurt by Davante Adams being on the team rather than Hunter Renfrow just being irrelevant. Because my whole argument is going to rely on a few things. Things that me and you have agreed on, things that I think a lot of people would agree with me with. I think that Derek Carr criminally underproduced in the touchdown department, which is going to help everyone. We'll get to that. We'll actually pile on right now with that and giving you some solid numbers. Derek Carr was for the quarterbacks who threw more than 4,000 yards last year, his touchdown rate was easily the worst. If you give him the average of the touchdown rates of all those quarterbacks that threw over 4,000 yards last year, it gives him an extra 13 touchdowns for the year. Okay. Which means
that's a lot of points.
Exactly. Which means those points, those touchdowns are distributed to his pass catchers, and one of his most trusted weapons near the goal line in the red zone was Hunter Renfrow. And you take a guy that's used like that and you give him, granted, he just had a workload that was, able to produce a top 10 wide receiver in PPR leagues. My argument is not that he's going to repeat that. It's that because Davante Adams is there, I still think Hunter Renfrow is a top 24 wide receiver in PPR scoring because of the volume increase. They just threw for the fifth most passes in the NFL last year. I don't see that changing. Now that Davante Adams is there, I think you can make the argument, oh, well, targets are going to be taken from him. But here's the thing. Teams that have that kind of distribution, that, those types of weapons, it almost makes it to where Hunter Renfrow is a necessity, because you're talking about who are the defenses having to key in on. They're going to have to key in on Darren Waller. He's more physical. He's going to require the safety help. Then you're going to be talking about, are you going to double team Hunter Renfrow, or are you going to double team Davante Adams? So Hunter Renfrow.
I like it. I like the path.
So to me, it just makes more sense that Hunter Renfrow can be a wide receiver too, because all he's going to have to do in half-point PPR scoring, you have to get around 175, PPR points roughly to get in that range, and he just had like 200 and something. I don't think that he's going to lose that many points just because Davante Adams is there. I think he can still produce at a wide receiver 2 rate.
For me, I think the talent of Renfrow is very Edelman-like, where there will be a role on every play for Hunter Renfrow to be on the field.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels coming over, that is a role that he has used heavily in his offense for a long time. I'm not saying Hunter Renfrow is as good as Edelman, but I do think that Hunter Renfrow is very talented. And he only got one more target per game when Waller was out. So it's not like Waller drastically changed the volume that Renfrow saw. I think maybe that third option not being there, I think Hunter Renfrow, I can double check this, but I think he went from like,
yeah, sure. While you look it up,
60 targets. He went 56 targets.
Yeah.
So he went 49 in 2019, and then 56, and then 103.
Right.
And that's with no Waller, with no Davante Adams. So I think, well, Waller was there, but for a stretch he wasn't. I think for me, it's going to be hard to take him over those other guys that are right at that 24 range. I don't think he hits the 100 catch mark. It'll be right around 1,000 yards. I think maybe just under. But I do think he's a red zone beast. I think 8 to 10 touchdowns is very realistic again.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's going to be a value like he always is because of that exact narrative. You look at the other guys around him, like perfect example, Darnell Mooney. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 on his team, but it's also going to be probably most likely a much worse offense than the Raiders with what they'll put on the field. What I like
it's tough though when they're a 1. Like Darnell Mooney is going to get 100. Is probably going to get.
He'll be
50,
about 150
around
targets.
50. Yeah, around 50 more targets. I think.
Sure. Yeah, and
40 to 50 more targets. That's hard. That's hard to compete with.
That's why I think Darnell Mooney will probably finish within the top. He'll be a wide receiver 2. I think he finishes somewhere in that wide receiver 20 to 24, 18 range.
What about Hollywood? New look Hollywood Brown.
So Hollywood Brown's actually really interesting because of now the new suspension to DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's now a necessity. I think that's going to push him into a more solidified role. It's also going to be more difficult now because of the type of receiver that he is and what that offense does. It was hard for them to get DeAndre Hopkins the ball, and they were force feeding him. Hollywood Brown, on the other hand, field stretcher, that's what they wanted him for. I do not believe he profiles as a volume role. Last year, he got a ton of volume out of necessity. And now this year, he's probably going to see that. I'm not, again, we don't like to assume injury. I just don't know.
If they're both on the clock, who are you taking?
Between Renfrow and Hollywood Brown?
Renfrow. I'm just going to spit 3 or 4 names at you.
Yeah, I would take Hollywood.
Okay, Mike Williams.
Yeah. Well, it depends. If it's a PPR league,
any format.
Any format. Well, if it's PPR, then I'm probably taking Renfrow.
Okay, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I would take Brandon Cooks over Renfrow.
Allen Robinson.
Oh, Robinson for sure.
Rashad Bateman.
Interesting. They're gonna be really close. They're gonna be really close for me.
So if these guys are close, Ayuk, Bateman, who else is right here? Jerry Judy, Cortland, Sutton.
Yeah.
These guys are going to make it hard for Renfrow as the third option on that team to say comfortably he's a top 24.
Comfortably,
the draft price of Hunter Renfrow is not a top 24 receiver, so I'm okay taking him at his price. I just don't want to say he's a top 24.
I want to lay that argument there because you just used a good term for it. Is Hunter Renfrow comfortably a wide receiver 2? Probably not. But I would probably put it at a 70% likelihood he finishes ahead of the guys you just listed because, like a Rashad Bateman. We haven't seen him do it.
This is blasphemous. That's your brother.
I totally believe that Rashad Bateman will finish as a wide receiver 2. But like perfect example of a guy we were just talking about, Devonta Smith. I think range of outcomes, they kind of intersect somewhat. But I think it's way more likely that Renfrow finishes as a wide receiver 2 than Devonta Smith. Even though Devonta Smith probably has more talent, Hunter Renfrow still very talented, but in a better position.
Yeah, I agree. The volume makes Renfrow very relevant, and again, it's about the context. It's about his price. Are you paying top 24 price for Renfrow? No. But he is one of those guys that you can pay a wide receiver 35 price for and get a wide receiver 25. Jacob says Hollywood Brown is a wide receiver 1 in 2022. Book it.
The thing with Renfrow that gets him into the top 24 though isn't that he has these big boom weeks. It's that he like death by 1,000 paper cuts you to. He doesn't ever give you those floor games. He doesn't ever give you the 2 or 3 points. Usually it's usually, he averaged only 61 yards a game last year, but he was the wide receiver 10, it's because he might get 13
He's catching
targets.
everything.
Yeah, 13 targets. He'll catch 11 of them, and he'll get you 74 yards. But that's 20 points, and that's what you look for.
It's tough because I don't think the yardage is there. It will have to come down to touchdowns, and he's one of those guys that can do it. But
right, yeah,
that's just hard to bet on because
he's
like
so
Mooney,
good in the red
Mooney
zone.
for me is a 1,300-yard receiver. Just
I think
speed and volume, like that's hard to keep up with.
He can be. It's just going to be really difficult. I think it's just as likely that he gets to 1,300 as he stays around 1,000 because that offense could be that bad.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think Hollywood Brown is a wide receiver 1 in 2022?
No.
I can't give him.
DeAndre Hopkins didn't die. He just took
He's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, like he'll be back.
I can't give him a top 12, but I do think he's a top 24.
Well, that's still, yeah, that's it. I'll
18, 20.
I think he'll finish. This is far from saying he's a weekly. He'll finish in the top 20. But
okay,
he is not a weekly. He's not someone I want necessarily on my roster all season long because I saw that offense. Nothing that big has changed for me. He's on the team. Like, I don't, just because he's now in a more pass heavy offense, that offense is still dysfunctional towards the second half of the season. That's been the theme for the Cardinals the last 3 years that Cliff has been their coach. They're good in the first half of the season, and then everyone's like, oh, Cliff doesn't know how to adjust. And then you know who else knows that Cliff doesn't know how to adjust? Not Cliff. Cliff doesn't know that he can't adjust at all. So
no, it's the second half of the year has been unwatchable. What
awful.
about Terry McLaurin, Jerry Judy, Hollywood Brown?
Oh man! All right, so here's going to be a hot take.
Who's out? Who's keep? Who's finishing 1, 2, or 3 in that group? Like let's rank them.
Terry is going to finish. A hot take would be Terry's finishing third out of those guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have Judy finishing third of those guys.
I don't. I think
Sutton is the one.
Sutton. Well, yeah, sure, but
Tim Patrick is the 2.
Have we not talked about how bad Carson Wentz is? Like, there's a legitimate chance that if they lose, 4 of the first 6 games, that Carson Wentz is no longer the starter and Terry McLaurin's catching passes.
Okay, I'll give you. I can go Hollywood over Terry. I can.
I legitimately think there's a solid chance that Terry McLaurin finishes below those guys.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. What do we got next? Let's see here.
Well, we can talk about ancient guys on your fantasy rosters and why they're still there.
I love it.
Because a theme that came up in the draft was that there are a lot of these old running backs. And of course, now that we're past the 2022 draft, we've got the 23 draft to think about, and we're always looking towards the future and a lot of question marks, Travis.
Yeah.
So the question that we wanted to ask, 26-year-old running backs and older, what are you doing with them, especially in a startup draft? Because you brought up some names that I really want to get to. Let's start with a guy that finished as a running back 1. And can any of us say that anything before we factor in injuries and all the things you cannot predict? What has changed that takes James Conner out of the running back 1 conversation this year?
It's unbelievable. And it's because he's 27 and people didn't think he would stay healthy, and he did. And so now they're thinking now he won't stay healthy because he stayed healthy all of last year. It's coming now. He's going after Clyde Edwards-Helaire and James Rookie Cook. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it blows my mind because he's someone that I was waiting for. And you know what? There are going to be plenty of people who draft Eno Benjamin and Keontae Ingram because we're just waiting. We're waiting.
And you could be right, but you can't draft just like that.
No, because you know what? You could wait 11 weeks for James Conner to get injured, and all of a sudden you've wasted and burned a roster spot. James Conner
could be a top 12.
James Conner could miss a game, and then all of a sudden, like, what has happened? Like, it's crazy.
We have a live alert from our.
Oh, we have a fantasy alert. What is it? We've got the 108 and second in 2023 and the third in 2024. Should I do it for Justin Jefferson? 100%.
What? The 108 this year.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Are these
in a rookie
startup
draft,
picks?
I guess?
No.
108 first and second in 2023. Second and third in 24. The 24 picks are irrelevant. They're too far out.
Yeah, but the 2023 second and the 108 first round pick, I would do it.
I'm taking Jefferson.
Yeah, I would take Jefferson.
Oh, okay. I thought I read that as it. I mean, I listened to you and thought you were saying take the picks. Absolutely, take Justin Jefferson.
Absolutely.
Forget the picks, okay,
Yeah.
people. Forget the picks. You can go get rookies after the rookie slump when they come in. I'm ranting real quick.
Sure.
When they come into the NFL and they give you weeks 1 through 4 or 1 through 6 of bad production, which we saw from Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers took a while to get going, injury or not. Get these guys that you believe in, get them in week 4 or 6 for so much cheaper. Take the James Conner, take the loaded wide receiver up front, take the James Conner, Leonard Fournette type. If that's how you want to play running backs, take the vets. Go get these guys later. Do not pay up for rookie running backs. Even Breece Hall.
Who? I mean, I definitely would take Justin Jefferson over literally anyone in this draft. So, totally agree.
Breece Hall went before Christian McCaffrey in our draft right now. Are you kidding me?
I love Breece Hall. I don't agree with that because I think Christian McCaffrey can still do what he's doing for another couple of years. So,
I got Saquon Barkley 3.5 rounds after Breece Hall.
Well, that's a little different.
That's nonsense.
That's a little different because we're not getting into the Breece Hall debate again. Like that.
All right.
We already know the kind of talent.
You got to punt the rookies, man. Go get them week 4. We will tell you when. Just don't do it yet.
Yeah. No, all right. So you brought up another good point in our show sheet that Leonard Fournette is going after A.J. Dillon and David Montgomery. Do we think that's possibly because this might be his last year of relevance?
I don't know about last year of relevance, but
he's a running back.
People think Tampa's offense is going to fall off, and it will whenever Brady leaves. But
sure,
what has David Montgomery done?
I mean, he was a running back. Right?
Does he give you top 5 upside? No. Leonard Fournette does all year long.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this offense, I don't see Leonard Fournette not outproducing David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery's going to really struggle, especially with the other talent that we saw produce. I think David Montgomery is only setting you up to be disappointed because you're giving him
death.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 3 of A.J. Dillon, David Montgomery, and Leonard Fournette, I don't think it's a lock that David Montgomery outproduces A.J. Dillon. So
it's not. It's definitely not.
I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair.
But you're paying a higher price for Montgomery and Dillon in most drafts right now than you are for Fournette. Redraft will be different.
That can't be right. I'm looking at some things that you wrote down. Is James Conner really going after CEH and James Cook?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because people want the new toy, not the guy who just gave you a top 10 season.
Oh, man.
Who is returning to the same role with Chase Edmonds out of town.
James Cook is not going to be this world-beating back. Like, he's a great receiving back, and that's valuable. But you're talking about a James White plus. That's
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going ahead of Leonard Fournette.
I think give us a few months for that to even out. I think CEH is about to fall off a cliff. If he hasn't
already fallen off a cliff.
He should reach the bottom of the cliff by now.
If people are going by ADP on Sleeper or auto drafting,
I hope not.
They're getting Clyde before Leonard.
Look, if you open up your auto picks, like after you did an auto draft, please don't ever do an auto draft, but CEH, if he's on your team, I'm sorry. Like, I've got him in a few leagues, and I'm just like, it's like you're left holding the bag. You have to wait for him to have a good game to be like, see, hope is still alive, and then sell him.
Yeah, I think in short for me that the message is this. Don't be so afraid of 25, 26-year-old running backs, and even sometimes 27 in the case of Connor or Derrick Henry or somebody.
Yeah.
Eckler. Don't be so afraid of them that you're passing on unbelievable value or you're reaching for a younger guy who will never give you the ceiling that these guys will.
Right.
That's my message about James Conner, about Leonard Fournette, about like Derrick Henry just went at the end of the 5th round. Like that's so late. Alvin Kamara is not that old.
No, he's 26, 27. I mean,
J.K. Dobbins over Alvin Kamara?
J.K. Dobbins?
In what world?
J.K. Dobbins I would take over Alvin Kamara, sure.
No, sir. Why?
I would.
The ceiling is not there.
The ceiling.
Alvin Kamara is a perennial top 5.
Sure, but he's
J.K. Dobbins will not give you top 10 ever.
Oh, I don't know about that.
How? What's the path?
Well, one, he's in a great offense now, and there's not more competition. Like that's a pretty good one. You know,
the competition
it's not like they
Lamar
don't throw to the running back.
Gus.
What?
Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards are. I bet Lamar Jackson rushes for more than J.K. Dobbins rushes for.
Get out of here! Come
on. Are you telling me that? Do you think J.K. Dobbins is a walking 1,200?
I think he'll get there. Yeah.
Lamar's already done it. He's averaged over 1,000 yards for 3 years.
I think that it's more likely that we see that decrease and we give more volume to the backfield that they didn't have.
He better be a special talent if you're saying he's already at 1,200 yards.
I think J.K. Dobbins can get to 1,200. Absolutely.
I don't even think Nick Chubb got 1,200 yards.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true at all.
1,200 yards is a lot of yards.
Oh, it absolutely is. But look, now you're gonna make me look up to see where Chubb finished, and it's just
I need you to tell me that J.K. Dobbins is a special NFL talent.
I think he's pretty special. Yeah. Last year Nick Chubb had 1,259 yards.
Okay, Nick Chubb is in a different world than J.K. Dobbins, with a quarterback who's not taking 1,000 yards on the ground away.
Well, sure, but he also has Kareem Hunt there. I mean, that's...
Dude, I don't know. J.K. Dobbins versus Alvin Kamara is not a conversation for me. If you owned Alvin Kamara in Dynasty and somebody offered you J.K. Dobbins 1-for-1, you're taking it?
Alvin Kamara? No, I'm not going to take 1-for-1, but that's not what you do in Dynasty.
But you're saying you would draft him at the same price. They're going within 4 running backs of each other.
At the same price, I'm taking J.K. Dobbins because he's 3-4 years younger. So yeah, I would do that.
Then why would you not give up Alvin Kamara 1-for-1 if that was offered?
Oh, okay. I guess I misunderstood what you were saying.
If you own Kamara and somebody said, I will give you J.K. Dobbins for your Alvin Kamara 1-for-1, and Kamara was announced no suspension.
In Dynasty, yeah, I'm probably going Dobbins.
With no suspension to Alvin Kamara.
With no suspension, for sure.
Oh, my goodness. We got to get you checked out, man, or me checked out, because we're so far apart on this. Maybe I'm going crazy.
I just, look.
Alvin Kamara with no suspension?
Alvin Kamara, so.
J.K. Dobbins coming off of an ACL tear?
Well, yeah.
He's never done anything
ACL
in the NFL.
Tears are like career enders anymore. His rookie year, he only had 130 rushing attempts, and he still managed to get to 800 yards. So, I don't know,
bro. We're talking one of the greatest fantasy running backs of our time, who is still in his prime.
He's at the end of his prime. Let's be generous with Alvin Kamara. Like
Alvin Kamara on the back end of his prime is in a different tier than J.K. Dobbins will ever give you, in my opinion. I've also not done my homework on J.K. Dobbins. I've just seen a little bit.
Oh, well.
I need to do more. But putting anybody in Alvin Kamara's
It's not like
tier,
J.K. Dobbins
I would
is
know
like
who they are.
It's not like J.K. Dobbins is like a running back 2.
Yeah, but we're talking top 5 overall player
Sure.
in Alvin Kamara with no suspension.
Look, I mean, it's just you go to redraft. Absolutely, there's no way I'm taking Dobbins over Kamara. Like that. That's not what I'm saying. You're talking dynasty strategy, and like if someone offered me a young guy who can give me top 12 upside in Dobbins, rather than a guy who realistically in the next year something could happen, then he never gets to the level that he's at now. If something happens to Kamara, I'm never, ever, ever getting a running back like Dobbins ever again for him. Whereas in like redraft, yeah, you take the guy with the higher ceiling that year. So
okay, so you're still saying in dynasty, if you own Kamara and somebody came to you with Dobbins, you would take it.
Yes, I would.
Wow,
I would trade Kamara for Dobbins. Yes.
Oh my gosh,
that's where I would leave it, because there are runs.
You know what this tells me is that I love fantasy football for this reason, because people feel so differently about guys, and something about you and the Baltimore Ravens uniforms just clicks.
I have to
with
get
it. It was Bateman. It was Bateman. It was now it's Dobbins. For a while it was Andrews, which you were right about.
I'm not even a huge Dobbins truther. Like that to me is just dynasty.
You have to be. You have to be a Dobbins truther to give up Alvin Kamara 1-for-1.
I think in dynasty for sure, because at that point, Kamara has to be top 5. He has to do it. He has to be top 5, because if he doesn't, if I trade away Kamara after 2 top 5 seasons, and if you go ahead and look at running backs right around this age, after they've had top 5 seasons, they do not reach, very rarely, a third top 5 season. It goes down to maybe top 10, and then top 13, top 15, and then that tapers off, and he's right at that edge where I can trade him right now, and I could extend that running back 1 window for another 4 years, 3-4 years, whereas they're going to overlap here soon, except for one of them is possibly ascending and Kamara is declining. He's not going to regain that value. So
okay, I can follow that train of thought. I can get there. I can't get Dobbins being the one to do that for, though. I can see Kamara selling high if you want to. If they announce no suspension, he has an amazing first 8 games. You don't necessarily think I'm that team this year to win it all. Fine. Sure. Go get a younger guy.
Now, if you were to ask me,
I don't know that Dobbins is that guy. I mean,
like
you have to get
like
the entire backfield to do that.
Like Kamara and Josh Jacobs, no, I wouldn't do it. I'm trying to think of other running backs that are right around that range. Let me pull up some dynasty rankings, and we'll go ahead and see some guys around that area that maybe
Antonio Gibson,
Kamara,
Antonio Gibson or Dobbins
Dobbins.
Okay, I'll probably stick with Gibson, even with the draft pick.
I just don't trust that offense at all. It's been terrible.
Some other young guys, AJ Dillon. I'd take AJ Dillon over Dobbins.
Yeah. Oh no, I would pick Dobbins.
See, this is what I mean. I really have to do for me to understand the love for Dobbins. I need to do more work on it, because I think it is recency bias of him not being around last year.
Yeah.
And seeing all the other guys so much and talking about them so much. He was never talked about. So for me, he's completely off the radar.
Jacob, to answer
I have 0 shares.
It's ETN for me.
Absolutely.
ETN is a top 5 back to me. I'm in love. I would trade Kamara. I would trade Kamara for ETN 1-for-1 right now. Like, that is without a doubt.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of owners that would not give you ETN for Kamara 1-for-1.
Yeah,
I think every Dobbins owner might.
Yeah, probably.
Except you.
Except for me. Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn.
All right.
Let me
We're an hour and 20 into this sucker.
Let me ask you this then. Because These guys came in. Right now, if someone were to offer you Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey, or you know what, Saquon Barkley, I'll give you that. Eckler or Barkley, where are you going?
Oh, between those two?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Barkley.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Eckler just had absolute peak season.
Yeah.
I do have a couple shares. I actually acquired Eckler this offseason. I think his role is still huge. I don't think they want it to be that big.
Yeah.
And 16 plus touchdowns is just hard to repeat.
Yeah. Man, that gives me a lot of stuff to think about. I'm gonna want some more questions.
If you go watch Saquon Barkley's YouTube highlights, you won't have to think about anything.
You know what? If you actually go and watch Royce Freeman's highlights too, you won't have to think about it either.
He's probably out on the waivers. Go scoop him up.
100%.
I'm gonna go watch J.K. Dobbins film tonight
like
and tomorrow.
I think you like what you see.
I owe it to you, and I owe it to myself, and I owe it to J.K. to know more about him.
For sure.
Good show, man.
I think that'll be the show, man. I think that was
some good juice.
That was good. I appreciate it as always. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying with us. Losing sucks, everyone. Don't do it.
Do not.
Yeah, I think that'll be the show. Yeah, that'll be it.
Did you cut it?
No. Just let it run. Let it run. Bye, y'all.